Welcome to the Point of No Return podcast, a show at the intersection of technology and strategy. On this show, we interview industry leaders and experts to better understand how they think about strategy during this time of exponential progress.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Point of No Return podcast. Today's show features Anthony Palermo, co-founder and CEO of Connect&Go. Connect&Go is one of these really special companies. Anthony is a really special guy. Like, he worked for a long time, kind of in the dark, running this company for a long time, and then basically thrust into the spotlight. And his company today is really well recognized, having done work for the Super Bowl, for Osheaga, to name just a few. A little bit of background on Anthony. He started his entrepreneurial journey quite early. At the age of 16, he was running a housekeeping business. The business plan that he created in between his CJEP courses ended up being the guiding force for the remainder of his career, or up until now. He co-founded Connect&Go, which is a tech company with a very enviable position. It grew rapidly through thanks to smart bracelets seen on the wrists of festivalgoers all over the world. Besides being present at major festivals like Osheaga, Connect&Go has been able to seduce, like I said, the Super Bowl, among others, to facilitate the stadium's entire entry process. On the show, we spoke about Connect&Go's focus on access, pay, and experiential, the importance of culture in scaling a company, what he sees in the future of human experiences, and the importance of having a strong co-founder. Anthony is extremely humble despite having built a very recognizable tech company in Montreal, and I really learned a lot about the space that they play in. I hope that you enjoy the conversation. Anthony, good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Thanks for being on the show. First time I visit you in your offices, I have to say, pretty sharp. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much. You talking about the offices or the way I'm dressed?
Well, I have to say, you look fantastic today as well.
Thank you very much. My black sweater and blue jeans is what I wear every single day. It's just a different black sweater. So today I'm wearing the Connect&Go one. Tomorrow will be the Park Pass one. The day after, Connect&Go again. And the day after, Connect&Go or Park Pass. I'm not sure yet.
That's it. Keep the complicated decisions easy, I guess. So I guess the question I've ever asked you, Anthony, to start with is, what got you interested in RFID tech? How'd you get into this? I know you've been in the space probably even before people knew what this was.
Yeah.
So what got you into it?
RFID was a technology that I heard about in the mid 2000s. When I was desperately working at a transport company. When I say desperate, I mean, I had no money. I was broke. I had been running a theater company for 7 years, not making any money, but having a blast, writing plays, producing plays, traveling. And, my guru in the theater was a guy called Robert Lepage. Was a very famous theater director from Quebec, but he's more famous outside of Quebec than he is here. And his use of technology was just extraordinary. And I remember when I was in the theater thinking, if I were to do something else, it would be in technology. And so when I was, broke and couldn't afford to pay rent, I got a job in a transport company, driving trucks, sweeping warehouses, and in and around that warehouse, people were talking about RFID technology because there was a big hype that Walmart and the Department of Defense in the United States was going to be using RFID for doing inventory level tracking. It was a big hype. There was actually a lot of commercials. IBM had put out this incredible commercial of someone walking into a grocery store, loading up their jacket, what made that person look like they were stealing bread and meat and juice and all sorts of stuff. And it looked like the security guard was going to catch him stealing. By the time he walked out, the security guard said, "Hey, here's your bill," because everything had been scanned.
I remember that commercial.
Remember that?
It
was an IBM commercial. It was like 2003. Yeah. So there was this movement, this hype. It was part of the hype cycle, right? Just like we were in IoT 2 years ago. We were in BLE the year before that. We're in AI 2 years ago. We was part of the Gartner hype cycle, right at the top, 2003 RFID. And so, I had no clue what it meant. And I just said, let's look into this thing. And because no one knew what it was really, there was an opportunity. because there were no experts at the time. There were not many people, unless you were at MIT, the MIT Auto ID labs. Anyone could position themselves as saying, I got a company. And so I started a company called RFID Academia, which was, the idea was there was a center of excellence for consulting, engineering, and developing RFID systems. And that's very credible when you start a company when you're 26 years old called RFID Academia Center of Excellence. Like, it just lends credibility instantly, Then they would see me and I would lose all credibility. But at the time, like on the surface, when you go to the website like that, sounds big, sounds legit.
So what led you to, how long was that process from, okay, I'm working at this transport company, to I'm going to resign or do this part-time and launch this project, RFID Academia?
It kind of happened very quickly. So I was working for this transport company, and the transport company had been investigating RFID because, as a transport company and a third-party logistics provider, is what they're referred to in the very professional sense of the term, companies that were shipping to Walmart into the US DoD, and I reference those two companies because there are a lot of Canadian manufacturers that ship to those two gargantuan companies. The two largest companies in the US is the US Department of Defense, the Army, and Walmart.
Wow.
So there's so many, rubber boots that are made for soldiers that are made here in Quebec. There are all sorts of electronics that are made here that go into, planes and missiles and all sorts of stuff that are made here. Coffins are supplied by, Canadian manufacturers. All sorts of very kind of interesting things that you learn and that I got a chance to learn. So because there were so many companies, they were asking their third-party logistics providers to slap and ship RFID tags because they were being told they needed to be RFID compliant. But they didn't want to imagine, if you're manufacturing boots, you're not going to get into, they're asking me to put an electronic barcode label onto my box. I'm not going to start to learn that. I got enough learning how to make my rubber boots here. I got enough just to supply what I got to do. So they were asking these third parties. And there was no one specialized in this technology. So the transport company backed this idea of starting a school, or like a consulting firm on how to use this technology, which we hoped was going to bring more business to the transport company. So I started this company and positioned it to go out there and be an engineering and consulting expert in the tech.
And then I guess one day you got a call from this guy, Dominique Gagnon, who said hey, I have this interesting project for this client. Maybe we should partner together. And
right.
Walk us through that inception story of how that became Connect&Go.
Well, that's how Connect&Go happened, is that over the first 6 years of my career in RFID, I traveled the world, doing engineering and consulting in RFID technology. And so 6 years later, we weren't bigger than 3 employees. And we had maybe $300,000-$400,000 in business. But if you Googled RFID in Canada, our company came up first organically, so there weren't many companies that specialized. So when Dominique Gagnon had sold this project to the Saputo Stadium, to an agency, that was working with the Saputo Stadium to do RFID, he just said, yeah, we can do that. And then turned around, and he understood kind of what it could do, but he didn't understand how to do it. And he Googled RFID Montreal, and our company came up. So he contacted us, and we met, and it's the first time in my life that I deal with a person who didn't ask me for a quote. He said, this is the budget I have, can you do it for this amount? And so I said, we'll make it happen. And that's how we started working together, and we delivered this first project. And once he saw that we delivered, and I mean, it was white glove service. That's very much always been my style, is make sure the clients are assisted, feel, like we're holding their hands, make sure that they're answered immediately, so we gave him such white glove service. He was very happy with how we delivered it. He turned around and he said, within a month or two, he said, we should start a company together, and it should be called Connect&Go, and we should be doing this for other companies. I was like, okay.
How long did you think about his proposal to you?
I knew right away when he said it that he was right. And what we did is RFID Academia basically said, We'll wait till we hit $1 million. Once we hit $1 million in revenue, we got to remember, we're only doing 200,000 or 300,000. We never really thought 1 million would be possible. So once we hit 1 million, then we'll incorporate. And we hit 1 million that first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a great story. And then, fast forward a few years and you guys are like 50 employees. How big are you now?
We're 52. Yeah. 52 employees. We have employees in Austin, and employees in Paris now.
And give me a sense of the scale of the work that you've done. Like how many projects, how many bracelets? Because the numbers are always changing.
Right. So I think now, we're in our 6th year. But to us, the season is just getting started because we're February, so, this year's just getting started, but we're in our 6th year, and I think we're over 5 million wristbands activated. So it gives you an idea, that's a lot of people that have used our technology. That also means we have 5 million emails. That also means we have 5 million profiles. That also, there's a lot of value to the data that we collect into the profiles and understanding how people consume, which is, I think, is the reason why you use tracking technologies to just understand more about your consumers. And now we've pivoted a few times over the years in terms of focus. We were always, listening to what people were interested in using the technology for. But then after probably about 2 years, we started to focus. Now we're going to focus on these industries. And then we started to add industries. And then at a certain point, we had to pivot not from industries necessarily, but from non-permanent installations to permanent installations. And that's been our big pivot over the past year.
Yeah, because I remember you guys, you're always at Osheaga, for instance, which is, I guess, a very ephemeral event that happens over a few days. So you'd have these very kind of short spikes, a lot of work, to maybe more consistent recurring revenue with a permanent installation.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone said it best to me last week. They're like, I'm really happy to hear that you're focusing on the quality of your revenues. And I think it's a really important point. I mean, the revenue was growing and growing year over year. Why stop a good thing? I mean, it seems to keep working. Why not double down on this formula that's working? But the consistency from a cash flow perspective of being able to bill monthly becomes, it's not like we didn't know that this was important. It's just that it becomes more and more important, especially when you get to the size of company that we are and the payroll that comes with it. You have to make sure that cash is coming in regularly, because we can do a Super Bowl weekend and make $500,000, but then go 3 weekends without making a Super Bowl, without having a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. So what happens when this, the next Super Bowl calls? Have you actually decided to turn down the short-term revenue, or do you partner with both? Let's say events and stadiums. Let's say. I
mean, now what we've done is we've really focused. We have 3 industries in the permanent installation section, or permanent installation revenues, and they're very similar. But they are different segments of that same industry. And then the non-permanent, which we keep at a second tier of focus. And when I say that, I mean, it's always a first tier, second tier is really about how much effort we put into marketing. So today we're the leader in festivals. So if festivals call, right away, we know we can do it. It's easy for us to do. We've surpassed everyone else in the market. So it's a no-brainer that we can do it. At the same time, we're not putting as many dollars behind that market because we're already positioned in it. It doesn't take that much. People call us already. If you Google RFID wristbands or RFID festivals, our name comes up very quickly. So it's much more about focusing a lot of our dollars today, our investments in these different markets that provide recurring revenues. So in the brand activations, in the sporting events, in the music festivals, we have a reputation that's there. We have, a positioning in that market and a significant market share that we get a chance to bid on the majority of the projects that come through. So
it's amazing to see what you guys have built in such a what feels like a short period of time. I'm guessing for you, after making it for so long, your 6 years of consulting, I think, kind of shows, the good old fashioned 10,000 hour rule. Mm. How would you describe your core value prop to someone that's not aware of your brand today?
That's actually a really good point that you made about the 10,000. I really believe that. I really strongly believe that was an important factor for me personally. The company for sure, but me personally, especially when I was 26 years old and I started RFID Academia, I felt young. I mean, I'm short as well, and when I shave, I look very young. But I felt that people weren't going to take me seriously. Especially that I was walking into corporations like Bombardier and pharmaceutical companies and working with the military. And all of a sudden here was this 26-year-old who was sitting across the table with, the majority of CIOs and CTOs of these companies, are all of a certain age, because they've been with the company for 30 years. They've been, so a lot of them are in their 50s and 60s. Especially in those years, like 10, 12 years ago, I was sitting across the table from a lot of older people and I felt that I wasn't credible. And then today I find that, we see that the C level and V level in these companies is a lot younger when it comes to technology. Information sometimes is still a little bit older, but technology itself is also much younger, because we're seeing that the generation that I'm part of, but also the generation after me, are coming out of school knowing more than what we learned when we were in school. And I think we have to appreciate that. We have to kind of respect it and honor that by not looking at someone because they're young and thinking they don't know what they're talking about. Arguably, they probably really do know what they're talking about. They maybe lack experience, but they definitely know what they're talking about technologically. So I think our value proposition is the fact that we mastered the technology at such an early stage. So we didn't start Connect and Go and say, now we need to know what RFID does or how it's going to work. We came in going, we've done the most complex military supply chains in the world. We've done the most complex global retail item level supply chains in the world. Coming to do an NFC wristband that does yes or no at the gate to say if you can get in or not is not technologically challenging to us at all, today. So.
What do you feel is the most compelling use case that you guys offer today? Obviously, you go on your website, you see these amazing case studies. Where do you feel that the best bang for the client's buck today?
I think it's a combination of consumer-facing applications like child-parent pairing and allergy and emergency management. So as an example, with a little paper wristband or a little paper ticket, I don't really know much about you. But with an RFID wristband today, I can know that you're allergic to peanuts and forbid you from buying a product that includes allergens in them. I can, if you were to pass out on the ground, I could, as an emergency management technician, scan your wristband and know not to give you penicillin because I see that you're allergic to it. And imagine the context in which we work. Theme parks, music festivals, people are passing out all the time. You know what I mean? So it ends up being a very valuable, customer-facing product to be used. And I think the second part, the back end, is all the intelligence and the data that we're pulling from this. So we have data scientists here who spend their days looking at trends and understanding kind of more about the industry as a whole, consumer behavior as a whole. Sometimes as marketers, we're going, I think we've developed this product and it's perfect for this demographic. Until you actually get the data of who's been using it, consuming it, how they've consumed it, what they've liked, what they haven't, which is what we're tracking, with purchases and with the types of products they're buying and the combinations of products that they're buying, is something that I think is the most valuable part of our business.
What do you think are the barriers to entry for someone to want to do what you guys have done today?
I think the barriers of entry are two things. One, the capital it costs to develop the technology. So understanding the technology, like I said, for me, having done this for so many years in much more complex industries, is not very complicated. And I think that most people that try realize it's not very complicated to use the technology. The big kind of barrier is to develop the applications that people are willing to pay for, and to be in the industries in which people are willing to put, or have a need for it, that they're willing to put money behind it. So I think that's kind of what we saw. It's very challenging. You need to know a lot of people in the industry. So as an example, coming into the industries that we're in right now, we had to displace people. It wasn't easy. It won't be easy to displace us. You know what I mean? We have a lot of long-term contracts with our clients. We offer a lot more than someone who comes in saying, hey, I'm going to offer an access control platform. Okay. We also have a payments platform. We also have an experiential platform. There's actually no other companies that we know of in the entire world that offer all the things that we offer. There's a lot of companies that are specialized in payments. There's a lot of companies that are specialized in access controls. A lot of companies that are specialized in experiential, but that do them all, very, very, very few, if none at all. So that's kind of a challenge as well. To be able to be great in all those things, we had to hire people that were experts in access control. We had to hire people that are experts in security and payments and processing and everything that comes with compliancy and payments. And then experiential, we need to act as an agency. So I need creatives. And so I got 52 people here doing this. So that's also something it's going to take a while for people to come and position themselves like that in the industry.
Yeah, this vertical integration, from what I understand, really gives you a leg up on people that want to come in and be able to kind of like copy paste what you've done. In terms of, you mentioned those three, the three core areas, right? So access, experiential, payments. Is the growth the same? Are the use cases the same? Or maybe I'll ask the question from a different angle is, you're obviously selling to large enterprise, right? When someone comes and approaches you, I imagine they have their own wish list of stuff that they want to see that fall into maybe multiple categories. How much development internally do you need to do in terms of your tech and your programming to match what they need? Or is that all done? Is it easy? Is it open source and you guys just basically plug and play into, your customers' needs?
Well, to give you an idea, here we're 50% tech and 50% sales and admin and operations. So when I say tech, I mean developers and engineers. So that does show you that we are spending a lot of our time developing, not necessarily from a custom development standpoint for clients, although we do some, but really about more product. Meaning the more features we have, the deeper the client can go with us into their operations and feel like they've got a platform and a product that is easy to use and is great to do exactly what they're doing. The more we understand about their industry, the more we can develop those features, the more that we're listening to them, the more that we're able to really satisfy what it is that their vision is an example of what is to use. I think that this year we've seen, especially in the permanent installation space, an opportunity to come in and offer things that no one is. It's kind of an underserved industry. I mean, it sounds strange, but theme parks, like music festivals, when we came in and started doing this, we kind of gave them a bit of a tech, I don't want to say revolution, but like a tech evolution. And we made them more tech. They were still just ripping paper tickets, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So when we show up, us and other companies that do this as well, it's the same thing. We provided all of a sudden this connectivity that they never had before with the fans, with the consumers. And so I think that industry is going to continue to grow with this, but they're becoming very familiar with it. But there's a lot of underserved large markets like theme parks and so on. Until the Magic Band came around at Walt Disney World, it was unheard of. Like no one had ever done this. So Walt Disney really set the kind of the level of opportunity for everyone else to say, we could do this too. And so today, the majority of the clients that contact us go like, we want to do what Walt Disney World did with the Magic Band. And we go, great. But what about creating something that is your experience? And they're like, what? We can do that? I'm like, absolutely. What is your experience? Is your experience culinary? Is your experience, as an example, about documenting from a video or from a perspective? Like as an example, if I put a helmet on your head and throw a GoPro camera and you zip line across the open canyon and you scan your wristband and that video gets posted of you doing that, what is that doing? That is putting you inside a commercial for that experience, promoting to all your friends on social media what a great time you're having. That's doing what you want it to do as a consumer, as a guest, but also promoting the theme park, let's say, to all these other people that are going to see it, go, I want to do the exact same thing. So there's it's a real win-win-win situation. You know what I mean? There's a lot of wins when we get into these underserved markets.
Yeah, it's very interesting hearing you talking. Like, you've obviously spent a lot of time thinking about your vision. You have a very well articulated approach to it. How do you think about strategy for Connect&Go? Do you sit back? Do you do like an annual retreat, or is this a more of an ongoing process? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on how, your matrix of decision on what you guys decide to do versus what you have to decide against.
Well, I think I'm very lucky. I have a partner, Dominic, who, if he were in charge of operations, this thing would catch on fire, fall apart, and break off the side of a mountain, and crumble to the sea. But what he's great at is strategy. And so we have a real kind of great understanding of what our roles are, as co-founders. We're really two co-founders. You could almost call us two co-CEOs if you wanted to. But I'm much more CEO, sales and operations, and he's much more CEO, strategy, and sales and strategy. So he works a lot with the marketing team, a lot with the sales team to just come up with a lot of strategy. So what's great about that, it's almost like if the saying that a consultant, what's so valuable about a consultant is that they're not stuck in the blinders that the client is in right now. They can actually see from a bird's eye view and go like, the big picture is this and this and this isn't working, or this is great opportunity that's underperforming right now. Dominic acts as a consultant within the company, you know what I mean? So he can actually stand back, and as his role as a chief strategy officer is to stand back and go, okay, for the sales department, this and this and this could be something we consider. And then for marketing, this and this is something we can consider. We have a CEO that handles everything operations and a CTO that handles everything tech, but he's got a vision for where the product can go, and he challenges a lot of ideas, and he does a lot of market research. So he's probably one of the few adults that I know, one of the few professionals I know that actually still does his homework. So when he comes in the morning, you know that, you can tell by his emails that he's been reading about other companies. So he's studying the market, the competition. He's studying markets that we don't serve right now, considering them geographical markets. So he comes up with a lot of things that in the day-to-day we don't really have time to do. So I handle a lot of finance and investment, and he handles a lot of more M&A, which is different. You know what I mean? So I'm looking to raise money, he's looking to invest it. And so we've got a real kind of a good balance between our strengths.
Yeah, it sounds like a good symbiotic relationship. You guys are obviously in growth mode. You have a lot of cool, exciting projects on the way. What are your challenges right now? What are the things that are keeping you up at night?
The challenges are making sure that our team comes first. Because I think that, from a company, especially today, we're competing against large tech companies for talent, for the developers, for engineers, and what happens is that why someone would want to come work at Connect&Go is because of the culture, we hope. The culture of the company really kind of sets itself apart. We think it's really, really important. So what keeps me up is making sure that we have the talent in-house, to make sure that we have the talent on the horizon, to make sure that we're developing talent in-house. So we keep saying that, we're here to breed superstars. That's what we're looking to do. We want superstars, first line players in every single department. And it's really important for us. And we have mentorship programs, and we do a lot to make sure that that's what our focus is. So when we put the team first, everything else is just as important, but that comes first. If that's set, then we can deliver what we hope to deliver. We can go get the business that we're hoping to go get because the team is taken care of. And then afterwards we go into, other very important things like cash flow and just making sure that, marketing is done properly and so on and so forth.
It seems like, talk a little bit about the industry, and it seems like, we're sitting here beginning of 2018 that, this whole field that you guys have been working in for the past few years is now starting to reach, let's say, more mainstream consciousness. You can see things like Disney's program. I forget the name, Disney, their RFID Magic Band. Obviously Amazon Go Store, which is hugely interesting. how do you see the opportunities in front of you? It sounds like this thing is just very nascent today. Where are you planning on investing your dollars to go and capture it?
Well, the first thing is that we've said it many times before. We're not an RFID company. It's what it was when I started it 12 years ago. But Connect&Go was never an RFID company. It had an expertise in RFID, and people, when they search for us, they search RFID as the keyword, as the key acronym. And so we can't neglect it. We can't dismiss it. But at the same time, the real opportunity is in developing products that make it easier to enter a site, a building, a festival, that make it easier and better to pay for things, consume things, that make it easier and better to engage with brands. And so our hashtag is enter, pay, play. We keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And that's the idea, is that we're developing great products for that. So it doesn't have to be RFID. It could be barcode, could be facial recognition, facial recognition, vocal recognition, biometrics. The product right now is our innovation, our patents is all in that next generation technology. So everything we're developing is not going to change the platform. It's just going to be a different input. And we believe that an RFID wristband is just the vehicle that it is today. We could do everything we do with your phone. We could do everything we do with your thumb today. So I think the next is you wouldn't even have to pull your thumb out. You wouldn't have to pull your phone out or your wristband. It's just you walking in. I think one day we're going to be able to just, you give a little wink, and that's going to settle the bill.
What do you think is the key trend, speaking on these technologies, what do you think is the key trend or tech that you're most excited about, that you're spending more time on today?
I think vocal recognition technology is probably going to be one of those things that's not going to get, AI, we could speak for hours about AI. AI is going to revolutionize, I think, almost everything we do in life. But in a kind of a specific, application, I think vocal recognition is going to be the thing that we see a lot of innovation in, because just imagine showing up at your groceries at the door and just go, open the door, and it opens, you know what I mean? Or just say, like, open the trunk, and it opens. Like, I think that's where we're going. And I think that the unique identifier in our voice is surprisingly, Daniel Day-Lewis said it best to Oprah in an interview. Not that I'm Daniel Day-Lewis and not that you're Oprah, an actor. But he said the voice is the fingerprint of the soul. And that's a poetic way to describe technology, right? It's a unique identifier for who you are. And so if I'm able to, as opposed to using a unique identifier and a microchip on your wristband, if I can use your eyes or your voice to come in and let you in somewhere, or let you pay for something, or let you say yes to things, we're getting much closer to those movies that showed us that was possible 10 years ago, the Minority Report and AI and all that.
I agree with you. I got a Google Mini recently, and it's obviously limited. There's some novelty factor to it, but you can clearly see that this is where it's going, right? Like, this thing is going to keep getting better, and obviously it's going to kind of take over. Is there anything happening in the industry you think that's not getting enough attention, or that people are not talking about at all?
If it is, I won't say it. And the reason is because that's a competitive advantage. I like it when people don't know about something that's going on. I like it when people aren't talking about something. Good. Spend all your time working on AI. Keep those guys busy. They raise a lot of money. There's a lot that they can do over there. Don't spend any time on RFID. Don't spend any time on vocal recognition. I'll scoop up that business. So that, you know what I mean? So I like it when people aren't talking about something. It means that there's an opportunity to maneuver in that space.
I like that approach. Maybe to be respectful of your time, Anthony, I very much appreciated your background, your insights. What's next for Connect&Go? It sounds like you have a lot of things happening internationally. So just curious to hear what's the future hold?
Well, I think right now, if you look at 18, 19, I think you'll see us take over the Northern Hemisphere, one region at a time. We've just opened an office in Paris. We have a lot of work in the Middle East, and we're doing a lot of work in Asia right now. So I think you're going to see us in that Northern Hemisphere with offices in all 4 regions. And that's more about, again, positioning. You got to remember, we go into the Middle East and we're doing what we did 5 years ago here, which is educate a market to the benefits of this technology, and then go scoop up everything that happens. I mean, when Evenco did this, they were the first to do it here. you know what I mean, in Montreal. You know what I mean? They're the first big major festival to go RFID, and then everyone followed. And today, you know, we do millions of dollars in one market like Quebec. So it tells you, if we can do that in here, what can we do in Dubai? What can we do in Japan? What can we do in Korea? You know, there's a lot of opportunity in those areas. So I think there's going to be a real push over the next year and a half to do that. And then in the next 5 years, it's really going to be about as many permanent installations as possible. So you're going to see us in some different industries, and you're going to see us also with that cash flow being able to invest in new innovations, because it's a consistent flow of cash coming in. It's going to allow us to be able to do a lot more, and then potentially, you know, who knows, maybe hit a consumer product at some point that can be done. But we've got a lot of things in the pipeline.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are guessing you're entertaining the platform idea, right? Like, how do you open source your tech, sell this to other companies, be able to do this? You mentioned the millions of emails. Like, there's value there. But anyways, we'll brainstorm about ideas another day. Where can people find out more about what you guys are doing, what you guys are up to?
I think if you visit our website, Connect&Go.com, there's a lot of resources on there. There's all about the projects that we've done, all about the markets we serve and the solutions we have. But also, there's a whole section on blog posts where we have information about our corporate culture, interviews with our clients. And it's just a fun place to be able to just see as much content as you can about the types of stuff that we're the types of stuff that we're doing. I think the most important thing is that our website is there not just for clients to look at and understand what it is that we can do, but also for people that want to work for us. They really get a sense. The website is not there to just sell. It's there to also just show people this is what a life is like being part of the Connect&Go communities.
Yeah, amazing. Anthony, thank you so much for your time, man. I learned a ton.
Thank you so much, Nectar.
Thank you for listening to the Point of No Return podcast. Never miss an episode by clicking on the subscribe button on iTunes or Google Play.